Back at you, Contra-Dictions, episode 10. A lot to talk about tonight. We're bringing in Glenn. We're bringing in Kenny. All right, we got a lot to discuss tonight, boys. We got cancel culture. We got Chaz going on in Seattle, right? And we got JuneTeenth. Whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and I know you both came prepared tonight. Let's let it rock. What you guys want to start with here, Kenny? Start us off.
Well, if we're going to address cancer culture first, I guess my initial surmise of my discussion today will be, I'm pretty anti-cancer or cancel culture. I just think, it's some of the good things that they're letting go. I think on the JuneTeenth, I'm excited, and I think that it could be a really great thing. And then on the Chaz situation, I think it's something that we got to we'll have a deep debate on it, but it's something that to me is littered with a lot of dangerous stuff, and it all sounds good when everybody's getting along. But when you start having to live together with people that disagree with you, we'll see where that goes from there. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to discuss these topics for the evening. We've got cancel culture, of course, and there's a lot of nuance within cancel culture. And I know we're going to talk about, the canceling of LivePD, the canceling of cops, but then we're also going to get into, defacing statues and things like that, the Confederate flag. So there's a lot to kind of sink our teeth into there. We've got Chaz in Seattle, which I think is absolutely just, I think it's incredible, to be honest with you. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I just think that the entire notion of the idea is just incredible. And so I know we're going to bite into that also. And then we've got good old Trump. We've got JuneTeenth. We're going to have a slight little history lesson here. We're going to be talking about the Tulsa race riots, amongst other riots. I counted 57 in total. So there's quite a bit here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Back to you, Fred.
Hey, yeah. So I appreciate you both being here tonight, taking the time out, and then, being on the show, letting America see different viewpoints. So let's start right there, guys. Let's do cancel culture, right? We got cops canceled. We got LivePD canceled. We got Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam losing their guns. We got Gone with the Wind being removed. We got Paw Patrol on the outs almost, maybe. Legos removing 31 of its collector sets from the police, the firefighters, and even the White House. So what is this? Is this a good thing, bad thing? What's your thoughts, Glenn? What do you got for me?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, because it just depends on what we're talking about. And, fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, you do have to get specific here. You can't just lump everything in to one category. I think when we're talking about Legos and things like that.
So let's start there. Let's start with the cartoons. Yosemite Sam, Elmer Fudd losing their guns, Legos being pulled because they depict certain situations, and even Paw Patrol. There's only really one cop on Paw Patrol. I know. I got a little daughter. I've watched them all.
But this is the thing. Again, just like all white people aren't racist, all cops aren't bad, all black people aren't thugs.
Sure.
And just like there are white
Paw Patrol really our problem in society?
That's the thing. I think we may be getting a little out of control with a few of these things. We may be going a little left field or right field, however you want to put it. But in terms of Yosemite Sam, I mean, we've got cartoons with guns. At this point, it's like, what are they trying to negate? Or are they trying to denounce guns? Or are they just trying to denounce the fact that Yosemite Sam is a Southern white character toting around a gun? Doesn't really show him in the cartoon harassing blacks. I mean, so
hey, Kenny. So if we remove the guns,
if
we remove the guns from Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd, don't we have to remove the guns from all the PlayStation and Xbox games?
So first of all, I'm okay with it. In terms of, hey, to me, I would just, if I had enough money, I would buy the program and I would run Cops. I think Cops is a great show. Even though I've had many run-in with police where we did not get along, I like the show. I like live TV. So my kids like Paw Patrol. So if somebody wants to cancel that, to me, the free market idea is, as long as they're not under, where you can't get the contract out, I mean, buy it and run it, because I think the market's going to speak. I don't think the markets like it. I don't think people tend to like it. So to me, I think the reality is you put, I don't know, if Fox News has to go get Cops and they do it, guess what? People going to watch Cops.
So here's the thing, though, right? Shouldn't we just Glenn, shouldn't we just air everything? Let America be exposed to all of it. Don't edit anything. Just put it all out there for them all to see. I want America to see the baby getting, in trouble. I want the fire that destroys a family's house. Put it all out there. Let America see it all, because apparently cops only do bad things.
Well, I think in terms of cops, the show Cops and LivePD, I definitely think it's great for America and the overall general public to be able to see what cops go through on a daily basis. I think what we're really striving for is a rebuilding of trust between the community, specifically the African-American community, and police officers. So I think taking that stuff off of the air just creates more more mystery as to what cops go through and what they deal with. But there is the other side of that argument to say that cops act differently when they know the camera is rolling. But then again, cops are supposed to have their body cams on at all times. So it's like it should be rolling anyway.
So
right?
they should probably show even the good things, right? Like Shaq playing basketball with the cops out when he was out on camera, right? They should show all of that, man. Don't turn the camera off at all. Show it all.
And that's a special case too with Shaq. That's going to be aired, but they're not always
of course.
Show. And let's be honest, we've talked about it before, but unfortunately, negative TV gets more ratings than positive TV, right? When do most people go out to a bar, go out to drink? They go out to drink when their dog died or when the wife is divorcing them or taking the kids or something like that. Every now and then they may go out to celebrate, but that's maybe 5 times a year. People, unfortunately, have more bad shit happening in their lives than good in general. And so just like in this time, throughout this pandemic, there were some industries that did much better than they typically would in normal times. Bars are one of them. So.
And one thing
that we're open.
And this may even segue into kind of our next thing, because I don't know how much longer we go on this.
No, sure.
But I do think it's important to make it sure that people understand when I say whatever, I don't care. It's because it is a company saying, hey, we're not going to run this. So if you don't like the company, don't watch it. I have a different opinion when it comes to YouTube, because I do believe it's big enough that it's a media source now. Same with Google. I think there's a little bit of gray area there to discuss. And federal government, I'm totally against them playing cancel this and cancel that. But free markets, if they want to cancel it, let somebody else pick it up. I think the money will talk, bullshit walks. And I think people will watch Cops. And I do think Cops is good for the relationships between cops and people.
So moving on, Glenn, let's go to our second topic of the night. And it's a big one, boss. It's a big one. I know you got some good notes for me. I know you do. Chaz, give it to me, man. Give it to me. Let me know.
Chaz. Well, really quick, before we get into it, we didn't really get a chance to talk about the defacing of statues and things like that with cancel culture. I just really fast, because I know we do have to move on. I just wanted to point out that, most arguments on the right are stating that, it's history, it needs to remain. There's a difference between history and celebrating, right? History, you can have Confederate flags, you can have Robert E. Lee, you can have Christopher Columbus in the history books. When you start resurrecting statues of bigots, I think that's crossing the lines into celebrating. Flying Confederate flags, that's crossing the lines into celebrating. I know we're going to have some controversy here, but I don't agree with having to explain, with a black mother having to explain to their black son who this person is, why they're being celebrated, why there's a statue of them. You're not going to go to Germany and find any statues of Hitler. You're not going to find any Nazi flags flying. So history books, cool. Statues, not with it.
Understand, Kenny. What's the other side?
Yeah, the other side to me is that there was much more. I mean, unions. The unions had slaves as well. So, to me, it becomes very tough when you're trying to pick and choose who the good guys and the bad guys were. At the end of the day, we look through it through our 2020 eyes. And so we see these things and go, hey, racism, is part of systemic. And then,
we know better now, right? We know better now.
I mean, and these were institutions that were brought to here that have been in every other country that are a stain and they're wrong. And I don't think, if somebody's putting up a statue tomorrow of Robert E. Lee in South Carolina, I wonder why the hell you're pulling that. Old statues and stuff, to me, hey, look at it and learn about it. I'm okay with, again, the NASCAR taking the Confederate flag out. Cool. But if,
we did have a driver say he was leaving at the end of the year, although he was like, he was one of those little
He didn't never
unknown.
win. He's like the Colin Kaepernick to me.
Yeah. So he's not really.
He was
he's not
losing.
really.
I don't
He's
care.
not really
You
hurting the brand.
just had to throw that
Shut
jab
up
in
and
there.
drive.
Huh?
Yeah, right. He's not
Shut
really
up
hurting.
and drive.
He's not really hurting the brand. And I think NASCAR actually tweeted back at him and said, "Hey, we Googled your name and couldn't find you. So go ahead."
But
like,
no,
damn.
we can definitely circle back around and have that discussion later because there's a lot of nuance to it, and there's certainly I don't want to glamorize slavery.
Not at all.
But,
Not at all.
But I do think, and I think most people don't. But there are a subsection that do, and there's some people that it really did, does deeply. They look at that. And I don't want people to look at something every day and think.
And I tried to move us along a little fast there just because Chaz is right in our faces right now. It is.
We'll come back
and
to it.
And I know you guys both took a lot of time out today and had some good notes going on. So I want America to hear them all. All right. So go ahead, Glenn. Start us off, man. What you got, brother?
So in case, for those that do not know, district in Seattle, Washington, known as CHAZ, which stands for Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. This is where, police officers in what's called the East Precinct were continually being, I don't want to say being combative. Both sides were being combative. You have protesters protesting. You have the police that were trying to prohibit protesters' First Amendment rights from protesting, and that we can kind of get into that discussion as well too. Nobody wants to talk about that. I'm not for curfews and all that sort of stuff. But after about a week of constant back and forth between protesters and police, the police officers just finally decided to say, well, you know what, screw it. They decided to leave the police precinct. They removed the barricades, and they pretty much left it a policeless area or a policeless zone. And so what the citizens did is they put up their own barricades, and we now have what is considered an autonomous zone or a policeless society. I have a lot of feelings about this. I think, especially in the backdrop of a lot of cities saying that they want to defund the police, even though we all know that defund the police really doesn't mean abolish the police or to get rid of the police. I
think Kenny's smirking over there. He's got a little something.
Well, some people want to look. Some people want to pin it as that, and there are some people that are on the left that are essentially saying that that's what they want, right? And look, there's always gonna be bad apples in every basket. But the initial reason or the initial definition of defund the police again is a divest and invest model. It is taking money away from the police departments and reinvesting that money or reallocating it to mental health issues, to social service issues, to things like addiction. So I just want to be clear on that. But
I'm pretty certain. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Really fast. There's a lot of nuance here. I think Seattle, for one, is a unique place. I think that of all places to do this, Seattle is probably one of the best places. You have a nice mixture of eclectic and artistic individuals that are very non-confrontational, if you will, unless their rights are being violated, and rightfully so. I agree with that there. But you also have you've got Trump on the other hand that is calling these groups ugly anarchists. I think it's funny. Why do you have to throw the word ugly in there? Has he looked in the mirror lately?
Yeah, right. It's always sometimes it's like, you know what I mean? Like
it's absolutely
you know what to say, when to say. You know what I mean?
The ugliest motherfucker's trying to talk about somebody's looks. It's like it's crazy.
Got a hot wife.
I mean, a billionaire, you should. A billion, you can stand on your money. You can get anybody.
Kenny, the mayor of Seattle is trying to portray this as the summer of love, a block party, a utopia, paradise on earth. Like, is that really what's going on out there? It's a paradise on earth.
All right, so here we go back to the contradictions right here. Look, there's a lot of nuance, and the thing is that, for people that know me, there's an independence that I like about standing up for your rights. Okay, but Seattle, I think, is important. It's deeper than it being unique and eclectic. This is the home of Antifa and the home of the anti-Wall Street movement called Occupy.
So
you have these people that are labeled themselves anarchists. I mean, if you go down the list of, if you're on Twitter and you see most of their posts, look at their names. Their names are anarchy something, anarchist something, no world something. I mean, they are anti, however you want to say it. So anti-nationalist maybe. But then the thing is that when it comes to, and I do wish that Glenn was running it. I really do. I wish Glenn was running it so that he could talk about defunding, because we've talked about defunding, and I don't disagree with the way that Glenn describes it. But the problem is they actually sent a memo out. They did, the organization. They call it the Circle, which is the circle of people in charge of the group. And that circle said,
the group specifically in Seattle.
Yes, this is in Seattle.
Yeah.
This is specifically out of Seattle. And this
I just want the people to be clear for the people.
So yes, correct.
Hey, so Kenny, we got a couple of comments going on right now, right? They're saying, hey, look, there's a lot of stuff going on the inside that we're not hearing. So it's not a utopia.
Well, it depends. Here's the deal, right? Based on what I've seen, and I've looked at it both ways. You have the picture of them watching the movies. It looks all beautiful and everything, but everybody's getting along. The night before that, there was somebody that was tagging over somebody else's work, and he got beat up. Now, not only did he get beat up, as he's getting beat up and the camera drops, you hear the N-word get dropped about 5 times, which is very ironic considering that this whole thing is supposed to be about race. Now, yes,
I want to touch on that too, because that's the one thing, that's like the one objection that I do have to this whole thing. For one, I agree with it, because at the end of the day, it's change and it's action. There's no right or wrong as of yet. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't know if it's not going to work. It's never been attempted before, to be honest with you, at least in our modern day society. My whole thing is, because we do know that throughout all of the riots that happened over the past 2 weeks, we have members of Antifa that came in, infiltrated those riots, were setting up brick pallets, were, antagonizing, and knowing that the black people or the Black Lives Matter movement was going to take the brunt of the heat for the things that Antifa was doing. So I'm worried about, not really Antifa, but I mean, it could be anybody. It could be some right-wing psycho. It could be some left-wing psycho trying to go in there, mess up the peace, the peaceful protesting and the entire nature of what they have going on. And knowing that, they're purposely trying to mess up or dismantle everything that they've worked for. So here's as of right now, it's been good for businesses. A few business owners that have came out and said it. There's been a rumor that they were trying to make businesses pay or something like that to be a part of it. It hasn't been confirmed, and I don't believe that. And we have actual business owner statements saying that it's been good for business, increasing foot traffic.
Okay, now a couple things there. First of all, I'm not saying whether it was true or not. It's an anecdotal situation at best. But it was the police chief that said that. So it wasn't Fox News that said it. It was actually the chief of police that said it. So maybe
the chief of police, by the way, and just to be as transparent as possible, she's like dipping a toe in. She's got like she's like halfway in.
For sure.
Out.
But I want to speak about the business owners. The 2 business owners that I've seen, first of all, both of them are not charging. So they're giving everything away for free. That's what it said. So they're giving things away for free. But when people go into the restaurant, they're charging people that come into the restaurant almost as if you were in a mall, because it's kind of like a festival sort of situation, and you were to hand out samples to draw people in. It's a situation that's more so like that. It's not like they're just giving stuff away. That's and again, and just so people know, I'm getting all my information from the vendors itself. That's whose Twitter I was looking at. And they said giving away food for free and loving it.
I mean, that's what like samples
maybe
and things
it's samples.
Are.
Okay, here you go, Kenny. Here's your police chief in Seattle. Here you go. Check this out. What do you think here? Seattle police chief says rapes and robberies are occurring in Chaz area and officers can't respond to them.
Now, here's the thing. To me, that's very tough because of speculation stuff. So I'm trying to stay as what we do know. And my concern about what we do know is this. If I came out and said, hey, the Ku Klux Klan is very loving when it's the Ku Klux Klan, then people would go, are you out of your mind? And that's what, to me, you have to have some sort of other side of the coin in order to see whether these people, hey, you want to set up a utopia society? Well, allow a bunch of people in that disagree with you. See how you handle discussions, dissentment, people disagreeing with your philosophy. I mean, there was a tweet that came out. I'm sure you know about it. It talked about they invited a bunch of homeless people in. Homeless people took all their food and left. And so they were kind of begging for food because the homeless people are taking their food. Well, these things, and look, everybody who's setting up their own society is going to have some issues. But I see it and I go, okay, the happiness seems to be like, well, if you've created a bubble, if it's us three hanging out at the picnic, we're going to chit chat all day and have no problems. But if a white supremacist comes in, we're going to have problems with him. If a black supremacist comes in, we're still going to talk to him because that's who we are, but we're going to have problems. So you have to be able to get people outside of your discussion point. And a lot of, I get it, you know, everybody likes the early good news. So they're sending out a bunch of things like, oh, it's great here. We watched the movie last night. It's like, well, let's see what happens when you know, more people, because there are barely any stores open there. So they've got a couple, but once you reopen all those stores, somebody's going to want to pay rent and all these things are going to happen. You know, we'll see where it goes from there.
The true test of character, right? True test of character is when the chips are down. How do you respond? Not when everything is going great, right?
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with that. And I do agree with what Kenny just said. You know, there hasn't been enough time that has gone by to allow this thing to sort of brew, bubble, work themselves through the hardships. I do just want to point out really quick, again, Trump calling them ugly anarchists, also referring to them as domestic terrorists. At the end of the day, as of right now, these are law-abiding, peaceful, protesting citizens. You can't just label them as that. And I find it really funny, almost kind of effed up, that he's so quick to call them domestic terrorists, but he has not came out and called the KKK terrorists.
Like, well, not only has he said that, but he actually put that in writing in 2017. So he's actually signed a document that addressed that specifically. So not only has he said it, he actually signed Senate Resolution 49 that included the Ku Klux Klan and anti-white supremacists, and said that they, on a federal level, would go after them. So
like we just said earlier, the other side of the coin. Yeah, the other side of the coin, though, is we don't know actually what is really going on in Utopia over there. So maybe he might have some insight, and that's why he's going to that next level.
Well, here's something that Trump did say, because I'm going to say something that I saw him say, and I don't know if it's contrary to what you're saying, but he said, let me get his quote right here. He said, well, I guess they want to do this. Let's see what happens. So
yes,
to me,
he finally came out and said that after the mayor gave a speech saying that the president's threats to send military are not only unwelcome, but illegal. So pretty much denouncing everything that he said, but he was originally, you know.
So I think the military actions. Don't you think the military actions? Oh, sorry, Glenn. Go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead. No, but I was just saying that the governor is also on board with the mayor, and they're currently working on a piece of legislation
well, of course,
to make this thing official.
This is only occurring because you have a primarily Democrat group in a Democrat city in a Democrat state. That's the reason why it's happening here. This whole thing, I'm not going to say it was set up before because I don't believe that. But this is an orchestrated thing. And to me, it's a continuation of what they did when they set out the bricks and things like that. They knew this buildup was coming. To me, I bet you they're going to be able to find out that Antifa knew they were going to take over this area a long time before. They knew how much resistance they would get. They knew that they would get less.
So how about this, right? We got Jacob on our comments, right? He said, hey, isn't it illegal to do land grab? That's not yours. Property is not yours, and you take it over. Isn't that illegal?
That's not what they're doing here. Like I said, the police relinquished their duties. They walked off. They removed the barracks. Nobody forced them to do anything. They didn't take anything over at all. So if the police decide to come back, then as of right now, all we know is that they're law-abiding citizens and they would obey the law. So they didn't take anything over. But yeah, go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. The only thing I would say is that when you put signs, say, leaving the United States on it, trying to insinuate that you're creating your own commune of, no federal laws, which they're not abiding by federal, state, or local laws at the time being, just based on their. Now, it's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest and you don't hear it as it falls because the mayor and the police are choosing not to, right? The law there says 20%.
And the governor.
And the governor, yeah. So the leadership of the state is allowing it to happen. So, I do agree with you that at the end of the day, if there's no enforcement, is there a law? Well, I mean, there's federal law, right? But people can knock Trump, but he hasn't sent people in. And if you really thought it was terrorism, he certainly could. It happened. And actually, we can get to it later on, but there's been presidents that have done that through martial law.
So there's been no violence that we know of yet. There's been no violence that we know of yet, right?
No major violence.
The public
and I'm happy that Trump has not done anything. So I think he yaps a lot because that's how he tries to manipulate.
Sure. But if something does happen, right? Let's play devil's advocate here, and what ifs. I hate what ifs, but for argument's sake, what if something does drastically go wrong? Do we just automatically say strike one? It's over. Let's run in there real quick and end things, or what?
I think it depends on the severity of the incident. A fight between two individuals, and they're able to break it up. Nobody's seriously injured. That's something different than, a city block being set on fire.
Let me be more specific. If the public that's not in this autonomous zone is in danger, outside the zone, if they endanger the public that's outside the zone, does the mayor, the police, the president, do they have the obligation to come in and change?
Are you saying if they tried to expand the zone?
Sure.
Yeah, like if they like essentially turned into their own militia and were like, trying to take over outside territory, if you will, or go into other districts that belong to other mayors, obviously.
I mean, do we think they're going to be happy with just 4 city blocks?
Well, it's a district. It's the East District of Seattle, So it's Capitol Hill, basically, of Seattle. So yeah, I think because it's like a downtown type of area, I think that they would be happy with that, at least for now. And this is the difference. The governor, along with the mayor, are currently working on legislation. So I think there will be certain zones that are mapped out for this to take place in. I think it'll eventually, if it can last, I think if they are able to get legislation passed for it, it will eventually be a very organized thing. And I don't think, at the end of the day, you still got to treat them like American citizens. They're abiding the law. I mean, there's rumors and things like that, but there's nothing that's been confirmed. Nobody's being hurt out there. It's almost got like a festival type of feel to it, according to news sources. So you can't. And if
they're
the
not
mayor,
exactly
the governor
letting certain news sources in, so there is some. I mean, you let your boys in, they're going to tell the story you want them to tell. My big issue is that you got 30 different demands that they sent over, and some of them are just pipe dreams. Some of them aren't bad. I mean, some of them will be able to be met. You want to decriminalize people who got marijuana charges. I mean, that but you start getting in, and if you've studied Antifa as much as I have, and I'm sure you probably have, then you can tell which one of these are from Black Lives Matter and which ones are from Antifa. And some of them have some validity, but it seems like they're asking for a lot, and they're demanding that it happen, or else they're going to stay there a long time. The problem is, I just don't see it lasting a long time. I'm actually okay with, I wouldn't say they're following the law, because they're not following the laws, but there's no enforcement. So as long as they're not hurting any people, I agree with that. Hey, it ain't hurting me. But if I had a business there that I couldn't be in, then I might be pissed off about it. But, we'll see how it goes. I don't think it's going to last very long, because I just don't see them having that many resources. I would be impressed if they could do it without hurting anybody, and they can, do this for a couple weeks. So, to me, hey, it's a liberal city. They're trying it their way. If it doesn't work, it's just crapping on their own.
There have been a couple comments from law enforcement individuals, Glenn. So we respond to this, right? We have a Crime Stoppers individual, the head of Crime Stoppers. He came out and said it can't continue like that. His name is Jim Fuda. He's a law enforcement expert, and the director of Crime Stoppers. And then we also have some action is going to have to be taken. Is there federal laws broken? Does the FBI need to come in? But at some point, arrests and these individuals are going to have to be removed if they don't move. Is that true? Do they have to move?
As of right now, no, they don't. And again, they have the full backing of the mayor and the governor. I think that's all that needs to be said at this point. But, if things do begin to get unruly, obviously action is going to have to be taken. You just can't call it. And you can't, everybody wants to speak in hypotheticals and say what definitely has to happen. at the end of the day, this has never been done before, at least not in our time. So you don't know. Like, you just don't know. You can't say that. And as long as they got the backing of the governor as well as the mayor, and if they get legislation passed, that's going to be a different ball game. So you just, I don't know. You don't know, and there's no police officer. I don't care what kind of position they hold, that's going to be able to say what's going to happen. I mean, we can try to predict, but you just don't know.
And me personally, I don't want to play devil's advocate on a million different scenarios that haven't happened yet. I'll take it as it comes. Right. But I will say that, first of all, I hope that I hope Trump doesn't do anything. I'm okay with him talking, trying to do his art of the deal via his mouth. I mean, he's done it a bunch of different times, a bunch of different ways. Works sometimes, doesn't work sometimes. But I don't want him to do anything. I want him to sit back, because at the end of the day, to me, again, I feel like this is, I don't want to say orchestrated because I don't want to become a conspiracy theorist, but I think it's very calculated move on their part. They went to one of the most liberal places with the city, they have all the support, just like Glenn said, and that didn't surprise me. So I think I think
we've all seen the Antifa. I think we've all seen the Antifa news out there, people getting beat up and all that kind of stuff out in Seattle.
Yeah, but the thing is remember, Antifa only beats people up when they disagree. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that's what we have to see, right? When everything is going their way, and yeah, they've had little fights inside, but like, let's give it some time. If they destroy it, it's their city. I mean, they're going to be the ones that are voted out of office.
And at the end of the day, like you said, yeah, they'll be voted out of office.
You're from Seattle, go vote. You don't like it, go vote.
And if it doesn't work, at least Trump can sit back and say, "Hi, I told you so." Right? So let it play out.
And to me, I don't think it's going to work. So that's why I'm like, hey, let it go. As long as nobody gets hurt. Once somebody gets hurt, then people say you came in too late. But to me, then you better hold the freaking local people responsible. If something does happen, I don't want to hear a bunch of bullshit about it's Trump's fault. He should have came in. He's the reason this, man, save all that. Antifa's been doing this for a long time. They've wanted this type of thing. Hey, they kind of copped on to the BLM thing. We'll see. We'll see.
And at the end of the day, it's change. It's change of some sort. Again, the odds are against them. I'll agree with that. Odds are certainly against them for sure. But at least they're doing something.
Okay, well, clearly, if I'm agreeing, the odds are against them.
So, Trump train is rolling through. Here we go, Glenn. June 19th. He picked a day that is kind of subject to controversy. We got these pictures here. June 19th, Tulsa. We got maybe one of the most racist issues back in the day going in Tulsa, and he picks this day. What do you got for me, Glenn? Why is this date such a bad date to pick?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, so first let's just start with the location. Tulsa, Oklahoma. We all know about the race riots, and we can get into it. And there's a lot of nuance with the race riots, right? A lot of people just understand it on the surface. I wouldn't even say a lot of people even really know what it's about, but the people that know what it's about, they understand it on the surface, and there's so much nuance. But just the location, Tulsa. Trump's reasoning for picking Tulsa, Oklahoma, is because they are the low. He says that they've got the lowest amounts for coronavirus. And I get that, right? Okay, and I get that. But then why the date? Why June 19th or JuneTeenth? And then not only that, why Tulsa, Oklahoma? I mean, there's a lot of other great cities in Oklahoma, but why not June 20th? Right?
So, Glenn. Your comments on the coronavirus, it's 7,480 cases, 355 deaths.
Yep. So, and that's the lowest in the country out of any other state. So I get it, right? I understand that argument. I think at the end of the day, it's just an argument. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that he picked JuneTeenth or Tulsa, Oklahoma. He could have picked any other city in Oklahoma, and he could have picked June 20th. He could have picked June 21st. Again, in my opinion, playing right to his white nationalist base and this whole white supremacy thing. And not only that, but he also has another date on the books. He's scheduled to give his Republican convention speech in Jacksonville on August 27th, which is the 60th anniversary of a brutal attack of the KKK's brutal attack against Black activists, also known as Axe Handle Saturday. I don't think it's a coincidence at all there either. He actually had the original location moved from Charlotte, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. Why is he picking these dates? Why is he picking these locations? Please don't tell me it's just a coincidence.
Let's see if Kenny has the answer for those questions, Glenn. What's he got?
Okay, got a couple of them. First of all, we'll work our way backwards a little bit. First of all, Jacksonville was picked very easily. He's very good friends with the Furtada brothers, as well as the UFC's president, Dana White. And so Dana White had a lot of success in Jacksonville, recommended Jacksonville to him. Super simple. Jacksonville wasn't a hypothetical, it was in his back pocket. He knew that for a while. And he kept trying to make it at North Carolina. They wouldn't let him. So that's why he's in Jacksonville. So the date, be honest, Fred, have you ever heard of Axe Handle Saturday?
I have not.
Okay, right. Most people have not. So
you think white supremacists haven't heard of Axe Handle Saturday? You think white supremacists didn't know about the quote? So that he took from the 1963 segregationists of Miami?
Well, first of all, again, in that one, it's not. First of all, in that one, it wasn't a segregist comment. The comment was about how they asked him how he had kept the streets so clean, and he said, "When the looting started, the shooting starts." So,
and you think he just picked that out of thin air?
Because to think that it was just about anti-Black people, I mean, maybe on that side, that's what they think, but no. I actually think this
one just picked that out of thin air, bro.
June 19th is just kind of funny because JuneTeenth, okay? It's funny because JuneTeenth has nothing to do with Tulsa. So it's funny,
it has nothing to do with Tulsa.
Two things. So he didn't do it on the day, or he'd have done it on June 1st or May 31st or May 31st. So he did it on this day. I think it's very important because when he just had his meeting in Texas, which first of all, Biden straight gaffed it and said that he was doing it in Texas because JuneTeenth, when he's not even doing it in Texas. But JuneTeenth was the situation where that was the last call for the end for the Emancipation Proclamation, and it was the
2.5 years after the Union set it into place. The state of Texas was the last state to secede. It took them 2.5 years to actually abide by federal law.
Well, they came into that happened 6 months later. So 6 months later was how long it took them to get to Texas to go tell them to enforce it. So how long they ended up doing it? Well, I mean, like I told you before, I know Kentucky, the last state to actually let their slaves go, and they were in the Union. So
they're in the Union.
I don't want to throw away Confederate flags and everything, but the Union had them too. But the June 19th, the 19th is interesting to me because when he just had 2 town halls, and the town hall that he just had in Texas, there was a lot of things said about what he's going to do about police brutality, and about the general gist of it is that his core belief, and same with his group that he was there with, all talked about the increasing people's net worth and how that could lift all ships, and how he wants to make sure the opportunity zones and open up lending to more underprivileged people so that those people can start businesses and things. So
you think that that's what he's going to speak on JuneTeenth? So that would be great.
If he does not speak on police brutality and lifting African Americans, and not what they show on CNN, we'll have to watch our own, because I will tell you this, it's funny because I was trying to look up Chaz on CNN. It's not there.
It's not.
You know
what
is there?
Yeah.
Young Americans are having less sex than ever. That's on the front page, but Chaz isn't there. But okay. But
we all know the media ain't right. We know the media ain't right. We know the right shows.
If he does not address that, I will come on here and smack his card on it and say that I vehemently disagree. It's a missed opportunity, because I believe that he has a great opportunity to be able to bring this up in an area that is still divisive. I mean, I was in Oklahoma
Absolutely.
not that long ago, and there's
It's pretty
still
much
a
the
lot
home of the KKK, to be honest with you. I mean, like, there's a lot of division in Oklahoma, and look, hey, if he speaks on it, that'd be great. I'm not holding my breath. I'm almost willing to bet you a steak dinner that he doesn't. I just think it's quite odd that he keeps peppering these little bits of white supremacy into every move that he makes. Like, it's
I
not.
think you have a media that's destined on trying to find connections to white supremacy, no matter what he does, and they've done that forever. I mean,
you think he's picking these dates out of thin air? You think he picked the 60th anniversary of the KKK, pretty much massacre of blacks that happened in Jacksonville, Florida, that exact same day, that exact same city? You think that's a coincidence?
I've never even heard of it. So you told me
haven't
earlier.
heard it. That's a fallacy.
Earlier, you
fallacy.
told me there was, how many riots did you say there were earlier?
About 57 that I've counted.
So that's 57 dates that you just took off the calendar, or else Trump is going to get accused of doubling down on this massacre. I mean, no matter what he does, again, maybe. I mean, I would love to know who's in the back room going, let me see what that date. What date is that? Oh, that date is. To me, that is this stretch.
Look, you're not a white supremacist. You support Trump. That doesn't mean you're a racist. Doesn't mean you're a white supremacist. You're not a KKK member. But people know this shit. People know. Like, if you're a white supremacist, if you're in that lane, you know these things.
Let me just ask you this: if white supremacy, right? Who are they voting for this time?
Who are white? I'll tell you who they're voting for. So we all saw the video of the jerks in Franklinville, New Jersey, that had the knee on the neck that were saying Black Lives Matter to no one. And what did they have floating behind them? A big Trump 2020 flag.
Right.
Why is it that people keep associating Trump with white supremacy? Because he speaks to his base. So I know who they're voting for.
Because they're going to vote for him anyways. So that's why he doesn't even have to speak to them. They're voting for him anyways. So there's no, like,
but
Donald
why
Trump
the correlation?
didn't win because white supremacists, if they're going to go for him, and you go, well, why would they go for him?
Well, not even that. So Trump has the opportunity here to say, hey, listen, this is not what I'm about. What they're saying and what they're doing. Look, what they're saying and what they're doing is wrong. He had 2 roundtables, and I think I think the roundtable was good. But why can't he just come out and just blanketly, plainly say these jerks are flying my flag, and that's not what I'm about? Why don't he just say that?
Because it never ends. So he's going to speak out about. There's probably 400 videos. He's going to constantly speak out about every racist person.
There's about 3. About 3 videos. There's about 3 where he's said it. I'll give it to him.
I've seen multiple people taking snapshots of something, going, it's where the white kids are putting their knee on somebody's neck and saying blah blah blah. We got a kid that's here, right, who actually at the school that my son goes to, and this girl basically messaged my son and was like, "Oh, this dude, blah blah blah," and my son was like, "What? You talk shit about black people all the time." She's like, "Yeah, but I ain't put my knee on nobody's neck."
Stupid.
Like it's just stupid. Is there naive racism? Sure. Are there racists that like Trump? Sure. I mean, there's 350 million people in this country. But I understand you believe that he talks, he dog whistles to his. It's unnecessary. Trump is a winner. He wants to win. So he's going to be trying to talk. That's why my expectation is for him to go to these areas and speak to black communities, because he's done a lot of black outreach, more than I've ever seen from a Republican, which I've demanded for a long time. He's the only one he actually said it before he was elected. Fred, I think you're talking to the air. Go ahead, try it again, Fred. Mic check, brother. Nope.
Nope.
Got me.
All right, there.
Yeah. So listen, what I was trying to tell y'all is that, look, for one, we know Trump, maybe not the smartest individual, but he's no dummy, right? So if he's picking a date and he knows he's going to get heat for it, right? He wouldn't pick that date, I don't think, to start controversy. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that date has controversy, and maybe he did. Maybe you're right, Glenn. But to bring that kind of heat on him when he's already getting that kind of heat,
I mean, that'd be pretty dumb on his part. And then the second point is,
I do believe that Trump will take any media. I do believe that.
I literally was getting ready to say all publicity is good publicity to him. He's popular.
He's a
he wants to be popular,
so
man. He don't care.
Instead of saying that he doesn't associate with those individuals, I mean, he has done things that he still gets ridiculed on, like the first African-American Air Force general to be elected or promoted to what?
He ain't get no credit.
Yeah, right. So I'm saying, like, he does do things, but it's not enough. So not just to protect him, but the other side, right? The other side is that he does do certain things, but that just gets pushed under the rug.
No, I don't think it gets pushed under the rug. You got to stay focused here. We're talking about him picking specific dates to give important speeches on, to start rallies on that directly coincide with anniversaries of KKK, with just the slaughtering of blacks on days when blacks were freed. I mean, as well as sprinkling little quotes from known segregationists that were white supremacists.
So he doesn't know this, and he does know this, and he picked that date specifically because of that.
So you mean to tell me that he doesn't know this, and it's just a random?
No, I think he does too. But I'm saying I think he does know that date. But to say that he picked that date just because of that,
yeah, I would. That's what I disagree with. Nah, I think he's got to schedule his stuff. So I think the June 19th one. That definitely, I think he did that specifically. And I actually, like I told you before, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for him because see what people that may or may not know how much they know about the controversy.
He's got an opportunity to flip it. At the end of the day, Juneteenth was the day that all African Americans were officially freed, and the African American community, Juneteenth, is pretty much considered like a Black Independence Day. He's got an opportunity to flip it in a positive light. And again, I'm not holding my breath, but I would like to see that done. I think it would bring solidarity, but I'm not really giving him the benefit of the doubt based on past statements.
Yeah. And I will, based on the fact that I feel like he's done a lot of what he said, and he just met with a lot of great people. That actually, it's funny because I would encourage everybody out there, go watch the roundtables. Hey, watch the stuff from Biden too. I haven't heard him have any discussions with roundtables. But I loved it because Trump's people, not Trump, Trump's people were talking about a lot of the stuff that we talk about on this show that me, Glenn, and Fred have all said different things that we believe in, not because some politician said it, but because we believe it. And now having these other people say those things, gave me some hope because there's a lot of times you watch the stuff and the things that I want to see happen, sometimes I don't hear politicians say it. And so it made me feel good to hear other people saying it. And I'll tell you right now, if Trump does not listen to what these people are saying, because there is a lot of room here, he can be very successful. Now, he is going to have to fight the media's representation of it, but he has an opportunity where he can go, and they used to call it Magic City back in the day, and Black Wall Street. And if he can revitalize that, and he's talked about the whole time that this, in the next coming is going to be when he was going to do infrastructure. And if his infrastructure can actually funnel down to the opportunity zones in the Black communities, and he was already doing really well with African American unemployment, I mean, people aren't going to be able to not deny you forever.
Hey, if he's able to do that and pull that off, I'll be the first to take my hat off to him. At the end of the day, like you said in the last episode, if my butt needs wiping, I don't care who does the wiping, just wipe my ass. So I don't care if it's Trump, I don't care if it's Biden, I don't care if it's whoever's running for independent. I haven't even looked at him, but look, and at the end of the day, I want, and I think that's the main reason why we do this show, is I think we need to come together as Americans and the American people. If Trump is able to pull this off and better the lives of African Americans and the African American community, and especially work to rebuild trust between African Americans and policing and change the culture behind policing, then hey, hats off to Trump. I just don't see it happening. And his rhetoric is just piss poor when it comes to that. Like, He should have somebody else write his speeches or something. I don't know. Definitely at least tweet for him. He should have somebody tweet for him.
He should have something to where when you hit the enter button, he has to answer like a math equation before it actually sends. For real.
So we have nothing on the fact that Biden talked about June 19th like it was taking place in Texas. Did he not realize?
But Biden ain't all the way there, man.
He's got a couple tools full of time on Biden, man. A couple tools short of a full shed, man. You know
I will tell you this, man. It would be nice. Look, whatever. If to me, and again, we talked about this before, whether it's Trump or somebody else, if there's another candidate, right? If there's a Tulsi Gabbard, or there's a handful of other people that I liked, you've got to come out and say, hey, this is my platform. I feel like this is a time where if I was going against Trump, I would come out and say, hey, look, bing, bang, boom. This is what my plan is. Here's what I'm going to put in place. This is why I didn't get this stuff accomplished in my last, 8 years there. This is what I'm going to accomplish. And I still see a lack of leadership. And you could even say from America as well. Now, some of that is media driven and some of it is Trump's mouth. But if I'm going to have another option, if I'm going to say, hey, I voted for Trump last time around and I'm not going to vote for him this time, I need some solutions. And hiding shit and CNN is not giving me solutions. Like I really hope, and not to go into this, but we're going to have some discussion about how the rules on COVID-19 all changed. Now, there's a lot of nuance around cases going up. In most places, death counts are staying stable. But all of a sudden the rules changed. It was like the media was okay with these, and I'm okay with it. We talked about it, First Amendment. Hey, you want to go protest? Protest. Because I was one saying go back to work. So I'm on the same side here. You want to go protest? Protest. You want to go to work? Go to work. All right. But I don't think you can. How can you be on both sides? It's okay. I mean, the health organization came out and said, it's okay health-wise to go protest. You can have 200 people in an area, and then you tell people in Seattle you can have no more than, I think it's 20 people per 1,000 square feet or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, definitely lacking leadership. I don't think that there's any question there. I mean, lacking leadership. I think there's people that would say we're lacking leadership on both sides of the coin.
No doubt. No doubt.
And, at the end of the day, and I don't want to keep harping on the president, but when you're the president, man, you got to be able to speak in a way that unites the people. And I mean, I get it. The one thing I like about Trump is the fact that I know when it's tweeting, it's him. It's his mouth, and I respect it. It's not some PR person.
You're not getting no fluff. You're not getting any fluff and stuff. You're getting real
fluff.
Yeah.
I think he's highly emotional. I think his emotions are fickle. I think he needs to grow some tough skin. You're not like on a New York street corner anymore, throwing jab for jab or, trying to see who can Joan the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
The thing is, though, to his authenticity, he's the only person ain't changed one stroke since he became president. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but at least, and again, that's the hard part.
I wish he would have grew a little bit. I wish he would have grown a little bit.
But I think most people who voted for him expect
not conform, but have grown a little.
No. I got you, but I don't know. I guess I've read his book, so I just don't feel like that's just kind of like his character. He is who his character is, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. He just is who he is. And I would have liked to see a stronger vice president that maybe could have been a better message giver. Now, I think Pence is a nice dude. Would I let him watch my kids? Yes. Right? Do I want him as my vice president? Nah. I mean, not for
you
Trump.
really don't hear anything about Pence, though.
No.
He's like he's way too quiet. He's
your nice granddad.
He's a yes man.
All right, so let's go into some of our audience's comments, right? We got Jacob here, right? Dems control the federal education. Why are all so uneducated? Do you think the two correlate? Dems having control of the federal education?
Let me get this one first.
That's a great question.
Let me get this one first.
Go ahead, Kenny.
So for those of you out there, and this is a public service announcement, so look me in my eyes. If you have not read about the 1921 riots in Tulsa, if you've not heard of Black Wall Street, don't just go looking through magazines. Look into the archives, okay? There's a great piece in there. Everybody should read it. It's very nuanced, very deep, very well done. It's a shame it took so long to get done, but it is fantastic. And not, let me caution that it's a horrible situation, but learning about it is something that can bridge those gaps, make you more understanding, and our school systems are hot trash, okay? And I'm not trying to shit on teachers. I think there's a lot of great teachers out there. My mom was a teacher, okay? I love teachers. I appreciate what they're trying to do. These higher Board of Education political types have got to go. We have got to get a more nuanced, teaching people not this is the way it was, but like here's all the data and see all the different complexities. Everything is not black, white. There is massive amounts of gray that to really understand black and white, it's important to understand the gray.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Everybody should for sure read the archives. It's like 188 pages. It's crazy. And there's a lot of good things. What people don't really realize, and I don't really want to go into a history lesson, but Jim Crow, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Jim Crow actually, it really kind of helped out because what happened was the black dollar circulated in the black community way more, the most it's ever done. And between 1920 and like 1941, blacks were actually doing better than whites in this country at that time. Just look it up. But he actually had a lot of black and white people getting along, even though blacks had their own area and whites had their own area. Blacks paid more state taxes. You had the governor at the time really loved Black Wall Street because Black Wall Street was more successful than most of the state, and they were paying more state taxes because of it. And then, of course, some of the finer details or some of the gray that Kenny is speaking of. You had white prostitutes hanging out with, I guess, even black pimps or just black people, playing the piano and things like that. And part of what happened, it wasn't really just that white people were jealous of blacks and their success, but I personally think, and if you read the archives, you'll kind of get this as well too, that it wasn't really jealousy over money or success. It was jealousy over the fact that black people were had relationships with white women. And I think it was kind of like a gut punch to a lot of people. And so that's really just a little bit of the nuance. We haven't even tipped the iceberg, but you did for the longest time. I mean, for the better half of a decade. I mean, you had blacks for the most part had their section, whites had their section, but then you had like whites coming over and hanging out in black businesses and things like that. And everybody was getting along. And I think throughout that time, you did have some jealousy on other levels. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure whites tried to conspire to do certain things, but then the governor would step in, the mayor would step in and say, "Oh no, these black folks are good, law-abiding citizens, good tax-paying folk." And at the end of the day, I think that goes to speak for itself too, which is why Martin Luther King, 2 weeks before he was assassinated, said, "I think I may have led black people into a burning building," because at the end of the day, everybody sees green. Right. You want equality, the dollar can get it.
There is one color everybody sees. It's green.
I don't think it should be the end all be all. I think the basis should be humanity.
Sure,
but people see humanity much faster when you start affecting them.
Our next comment comes from Lauren Phillips. Yes, I agree. Canceling cops, LivePD, and can even understand the justification of canceling Gone with the Wind. But please help me with the taking of Paw Patrol. Are we really being serious here? And I think Glenn addressed this earlier. Okay. Yeah, but Kenny, go ahead. What you got, man?
All right. All I was going to say is here's the problem, though. People got to understand, or have to, but if you're okay with canceling cops, then I don't think you have that much leg to stand on about complaining about Paw Patrol, because the truth is that it's either, to me, it's more of an all or nothing, because you're gonna where do you stop? Like, where do you draw that line? And If Cops is offensive to you, don't watch it. If Paw Patrol is offensive to you, don't watch it.
That's why you have the remote
not enough
and you
people
have the
watch
ability
it,
to change the channel.
go back with the green, because if nobody watches it, guess what it won't do? Make any money. So
I think what's his name? Howard Stern had this argument back in the day when everybody was trying to censor him, right? He said, listen, I'm on the radio. There's 1,000 other stations. And now with XM and FM, you could just bloop and you don't have to listen to me. Same thing with all these TV shows, right? You don't have to watch it. You don't want your kids to know about it. Don't let them turn it on.
Yeah, there's definitely we're going a little overboard with the cancel culture. I got to admit it. I mean, just a little bit. I understand the intent, but it's just some things that just don't need to be canceled. I mean, Paw Patrol. I mean, come on, don't need to be canceled.
Help me understand, Glenn. Since you say you do see a point, because I don't even really see it. So help me see the, not necessarily your belief, but give me what you think the other side. What are they trying to accomplish? Because I really am not seeing it.
I think what they're trying to do is eliminate any possibility of a child potentially learning some sort of, I don't even want to use the word racist, but maybe some sort of form of I can't think of the word right now. I keep wanting to say stereotypes, some form of stereotypes. I think they want to take away any sort of stereotypes away from television, and I think that it gives parents an opportunity
to be parents.
To be parents, yeah, like
right.
let the stereotype be seen. It's not necessarily racist. There's a lot of stereotypes in these things.
Well, listen, if we don't educate our kids, then these TV shows are right. So it's up to the parent to do their due diligence.
And I'll be honest with you, as a kid, I mean, I would watch. There are certain episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or certain episodes of Family Matters and things like that I'd be like, well, why did this happen, or why did that happen? And my parents would break it down to me, right?
Sure.
And it gave them the opportunity. I mean, there were some pretty, heavy episodes when you go back and look at it, where they talked about racism.
Or a kid who was missing a dad to see that Will Smith.
There you go. Yep.
Man.
Yep.
And
I'll never forget that. I'll never
forget. We addressed this earlier too. Like Cops and LivePD, they mostly show the interaction with criminals, right? And because that's what sells. I think we need to show everything. Show the good stuff with the bad stuff. And don't edit it. Show it all. Like even the worst stuff. Maybe
show. I want to see when a Karen calls and wastes the police time, and then the police officer comes out there and sees that it's an upstanding black man that went to Harvard. Like show that.
Yeah, show it. Put it on HBO if it can't be on regular TV.
And I want to see the Karen getting her ass chewed out for it. Right?
Me too.
Or I want to see the cop making the mistake. Like,
right.
Show it.
Yes. I don't think it's time to cancel it. I think it's time to give it more. You know what I mean?
At least so you can see the detail behind it. You can see the gray, or you can at least be able to.
You know what would also be neat is if they had cops with a chief that, as they're going through it, you know how LivePD does it, right? Where they have the people kind of sitting there and they're kind of watching it. They're going from screen to screen. Have a chief there saying, hey, you know what? What he did, he should have done it this way. And this is the way that we teach it. And I really wish you would have done this, because I think this could have been a better result. If you saw that, and we didn't get into it today with the police unions, but far, I mean, I have 5 pages of stuff on police unions. They have allowed that to be unchecked. And what's sad is people have really, it's gone down a bad hill with people that have done terrible things and became police chiefs because it's so unchecked, because the unions actually teach you how to write. Everybody write the same thing, kind of like what we were talking about with that guy that tripped. The reason he tripped was because that's how they were taught to write it. We both said that he may have caught his foot on that curb, right? Because he fell straight back. Oh, so he just tripped. You just ignored the part where you pushed him, which is kind of important, right?
Right.
So those types of writing stories that way, and then telling people to do it this way. And I'm going to tell you guys an inside piece. Now, this person just passed away, respect to him. But when I went to overseas, they told us, hey, man, if this guy pulls a gun on you, and you're not sure if he's going to shoot you or not, you're not allowed to shoot him until you really believe he's going to shoot you. But everybody, this is unofficial. If you think he's raising a gun at you, take him out and kick the gun next to him. Okay. Now, is that the right thing to say? No. But that's a tough situation. And, I understand why the guy told me that. I'm not saying it's the right thing to be done. And maybe I'm not supposed to say it. Hopefully nobody comes after me. But, those are conversations that you have. And it's tough, man, because people's lives are at stake. So the police have to live to a higher standard, right? They can't do that. They've got to be willing to die. That's what you do when you sign up, unfortunately. And so, not to go too deep in that, but police unions, I think we both agree on it. So it wasn't going to be long anyways. But they got to go, or be major reform.
Closing statements,
Reform
fellas.
on training.
Closing statements, fellas. Kenny, you start us off tonight, brother. Okay.
Well, first of all, thank you everybody for coming out, watching our show. We know it's Friday night. You can be anywhere. Thanks for being with us. And at the end of the day, again, I'm just going to keep beating this drum that people have got to listen and seek to understand, and then you'll be understood. Okay. But, all of us at our core, most people are good, loving people. We only can ever look through our own eyes. So no matter what I say, I can't relate to a black man. That black man, no matter what he tries, he can't relate to me. And so the best way to relate is to listen to each other and try to understand and respect their feelings towards it. You don't have to agree, but respect is something that is just paramount. And, I love my brothers on this show, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Appreciate y'all checking us out.
All right, Glenn, what do you got for us, brother?
Well, again, just kind of want to piggyback off of Kenny. Thank you all for coming out, listening. It's Friday night. You all can be doing anything, but you're sitting here with us, enjoying this discussion/debate. And, we couldn't be more appreciative. Don't forget to like, share, continue to send your comments in. We love them all, the good as well as the bad. That's what we're here for. We're not a right wing or a left wing program. We are a detailed gray area, because there's a lot of gray in these things program. And that's why we started this show, because we don't believe that there should be an agenda. There should just be the facts. And then you can formulate your opinion around the facts. Right. So, again, we've got Donald Trump with JuneTeenth. We also have him giving his Republican convention speech in Jacksonville on the 60th anniversary of the KKK massacre of black activists. Whatever you may think, I know there's some people on the right that think that he's doing it for some sort of good. I guess, time will tell. I don't mean to laugh about it, but I just think that it's kind of odd that he is sprinkling or peppering all these little bits of white supremacy into every move that he makes. But that's one's perception is their reality, right? We've got Seattle. We've got the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or the Chaz District. Hey, rock on, guys. We don't know if it's going to work or if it's not going to work. Just know that the odds are against you. And again, thank you guys for coming out. That's pretty much all I got for you guys tonight. You all have a good weekend.
All right, just to reiterate what my colleague said, we appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. It's always a pleasure to see your feedback, your comments, and we love addressing them live on the show. Seattle, it is what it is right now. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but let them have their opportunity. If they shine, great. If it goes down and are up in flames, then we have to figure something else out. Stay safe, wash your hands, love one another. Let's listen to one another. Just because I don't agree with what you say or you don't agree with what I say doesn't mean we can't get along. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, it's nothing but love, right? We can argue and still like one another. Okay. So again, America, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at episode 11.